Welcome. Antique chess set, B&Co. So, we have a 3.5-inch set of boxwood and ebony B&Co chess sets. And the reason we're making the video is because there's very little out there on this particular maker. And if you try to find anything on the internet about this maker, there's very little known. Even some of the greatest chess authorities say that they've tried research, and all they know is that B&Co was a London maker in the second half of the 19th century. So any time from the 1850s onwards, they were producing Staunton style sets in a traditional, they're Staunton style sets, as opposed to Jake's Staunton, that was the official licensed makers. John Jakes, Nathaniel Cook and Howard Staunton, in that little trio, they all got together, and Nathaniel Cook was a editor of a London newspaper. I can't think of the newspaper now, but it was him and a London woodturner called John Jakes that produced the Staunton pattern and got it successful. And obviously at the time, later on from that date, there was other established makers of chess sets, like a lot of established English makers were going to copy the pattern. They was going to copy Staunton style, but B&Co did it in a very good way. If I show you their pieces individually in a little while, I'll explain some of the things that are very unique to these sets. Apart from the design of each piece, which is in the Staunton style, but it's very unique to B&Co sets. And I'm pleased to share with you an actual set and show you what they look like, and you never know, you might come across one yourself. I've spoke to antique dealers when I was trying to find out about this particular set. They didn't know, the general antique dealers, not that very clued up, and they was like, oh yes, it's a very nice chess set. It's, probably worth a couple of £100, but it's not a Jake's. But I've seen these chess sets sell for a lot of money on the internet, and are very sought after by collectors. They're very sought after, and they're very rare. There's not many around. So let's have a look at some of the pieces. We'll start with the pawns, for instance. A beautiful shape to the pawn. They're very fine, very well turned. I believe they were made by the same craftsmen that were ivory and bone chess set makers of the time, and they used their craft and their skills and continued it on in these sets. And one of the unique things about this set is that I'll find a loose one, and they're made in pieces. They're actually turned in the same manner. This is how an ivory set would have been made, and they were threaded, and the thread was put on with a thread chaser by hand, and the man that was able to do this had to have an incredible skill. Believe you me, I've tried it. And if you can see the threads, can you see the threads and see that? And that's probably, and it's such a beautiful fit. If you ever come across one of these sets, it's not, don't try to keep unscrewing them, screwing them back thread, because if you cross thread them, you'll spoil the set, you'll damage it. This particular set is unrestored, it's as original. There's a tiny bit of damage to the crenulations around the queen, We'll have a look at each piece first of all. We'll have a look at a rook. And the rooks, some, people said to me they're like some of the best looking rooks they've seen, these rooks. 4 crenellations in the top, 4 slots, and these slots they were cut in on the lathe. I've seen my mate Bill Jones. If anybody's ever read these books by Bill Jones, I'd recommend the reading of these books. Fantastic craftsman and a well-known chess maker. These were put on with a cog that span in the lathe, and you just held it up, and these were cut by hand individually. But these unique to the B&Co sets is like most of the sets I've seen only have 4 crenellations. So, and again, beautiful craftsmanship. It's just unreal. Look at that. You could actually, secret away something in there. And that's, the ivory turners and the bone turners, they used this style because it was so economical use of material. If you wanted to turn that king, instead of having a great big lump of valuable material and then wasting all this, you could turn it from a small piece and then add it to a large piece, and it made use of valuable material, which was expensive even at that time. The knights. Now some people say that the knights, they don't like the knights on a B&Co set, but I've grown to really be fond of them myself. And these again were made on a lathe, and they were made with various shaped cog style cutters, and they would be made by a man that would sit at a lathe all day, and he would be carving these on a cutter in the lathe. And you can see a similarity between this knight, and if you look to some of the earlier sets of the St George pattern, you'll see the same. Anybody with an artistic eye will see the same, and I believe that these English guys that made these sets were the same guys that had been previously making the ivory and bone chess sets. And that's a beautiful knight. It's a boxwood knight, and this one's loose, I think, yeah. And he was just put on a peg. It was carved, glued and put on a peg. It's missing the bays on this one, and this set actually had bays. One of the earlier chess sets, they had a material called baize and not felt. And baize was used to line card tables. I know this because when I was a boy, I used to restore a lot of card tables with my father, who was an antique restorer. And we used to take the old baize off and reline them with felt using Scotch glue. And again, this is the king. The notable feature of the little round top instead of the cross. And they've got this beautiful thread again, threaded 2-piece. Bill Jones actually demonstrates in a video somewhere that I've never seen but I've heard of, and I've heard him talk in his books, where he makes a Jake's king in 4 pieces. And I thought, how would you make a king in 4 pieces? He makes the top, the head, the shank and the base, and he used to demonstrate this at craft fairs, and how he would make a 4-piece Jake's king. Some people were amazed. Okay, and then we've got the bishops. Now the bishops, definitely there's no bishop around like these bishops. These are very, very much B&Co. Very squat, a very big bishop's hat, and the mitre is actually not just a slot cut through, it's actually 2 angles and it's a V groove. So the cutter would have been like a V cutter in 2 slices, this way and this way. And it gives a very, very prominent, beautiful bishop. So there's your bishop and the queen. Again, completely unique. 8 little crenellations around her crown, and each scallop has some fine grooves cut into each scallop, and that's like a unique queen. You'll only see them that shape as B&Co, and again made in 2 parts with a threaded base. She's this one, yeah. I can do, like I say, don't go messing these sets around if you have got one, because these are so fine. When this was in the lathe, they would have used a thread chasing tool. Believe you me, to chase a blind hole is a skill that I play around with some thread chasing, and I suppose many of you might as well, but to chase a blind hole takes some doing. It's this guy, whoever was making these sets and the people that made them, it was their life. They would have turned these out like as just a daily thing. So to me, the B&Co set is very unique, and it deserves a better recognition amongst the chess community than it gets. There's very few photographs on the internet, very little drawings. I've made some drawings myself. I've done a study of the set. I took some photographs. I did many photographs of it. And some other photographs, actually, I think I got them off the internet. But I did some drawing studies. So there are drawings I've made of them for posterity. It's a study, measured study of an early 19th century boxwood and ebony chess set, B&Co Slender, by myself. I made the drawings. So this particular set, we've made a board for it in a traditional manner because it didn't have a board. It's 2-inch squares, and it's maple and mahogany and oil finished. It probably could do with French polishing, and we made a traditional slide top box for it, so that the pieces can be kept in a nice box, and it's got a nice board. And yeah, I thought I'd share it with you so you could see what a B&Co looks like. So if somebody was like, I wonder why my chess set, I've got a nice chess set, but it's got no stamp on it, it doesn't say Jake's. Well, maybe you could have a B&Co set there, you know, and not know it. So, like I said, these deserve more recognition. And another mention, I love Bill Jones, his books, I've read them, you know, when over the years I've fell more and more in love with this guy and what he has to say about wood turning and about chess. Look at that, look, he's buffing a king up there. Fantastic reading, and just a fantastic thing. Man, I've got a lot of respect for Bill Jones. And he was a guy that knew thread chasing, you know. He knew how to chase a thread. So there we go. That's B&Co for you.